I'm Sith King.
And I'm Sonic Sons.
We're the Rambling Reviewers.
And today we're looking at Patema Inverted, an anime film.
Yeah, it's a story where Anakin is the senator from Naboo, and Padme is the Dark Lord of the Sith.
Yes, no, that would be Padme. This is Patema. Or Patema, perhaps.
Okay, fine, Mr. I want to watch the less cool movie.
Man, yeah, imagine flipping all the prequel movies and making them good. That would be such an inversion.
Yeah. Anyways, so this movie is good, but there's some really big spoilers coming up here, so you should probably watch the real thing first.
It is possible to hear the spoilers and then forget about them before you see the film, because you did, which I was very glad you forgot which thing I'd talked about like a year ago. I had mentioned this. But anyway, definitely spoiler word on this one. What we first see then is
science conducting the biggest oopsie in the history of the universe. Because apparently everything starts floating off the ground.
Yeah, even the credits.
I can't help but think that as soon as stuff started to go even the slightest bit wrong, they would have turned off the machine before it created worldwide devastation. Just a thought like, hey guys, we're kind of causing the apocalypse. Maybe we should turn the dial a little in the opposite direction.
I can only assume it was really hard to do that.
I don't know. My experience with equipment tends to be that there are several settings in between off and full on. Yeah. Like, there would have been some evidence of something going horribly, horribly wrong before, It's like buildings are
not even flying up, but like disintegrating themselves as they fly up, which I'm not sure if that entirely makes sense, but like whatever, the machine was extra powerful at that moment.
Okay, so the sci-fi concept that you kind of have to wrap your head around in this story is that some people and some matter have reversed gravity. They fall up. But otherwise physics works exactly the same unless it's convenient for the plot / it makes it look better.
Yeah, there's a couple moments of convenience that are like well concealed. I'm glad to say.
Yeah, okay. It's more of a fridge thing. Like, hey, wait a minute. If they do this, then shouldn't they have just fallen to their deaths?
Yeah, there's some things like that. But this is one of those stories though that takes a weird premise like that and grafts a story onto it, so the premise itself becomes symbolic, which I really love, and that totally plays into the ending so very well.
I thought the symbolism was a teensy bit heavy-handed at times, but, it's just me. But I do like it that it kind of feels like a throwback. I personally felt that it felt like a bit of a throwback to classic science fiction, where, maybe some of Niven's work, where he would take an idea and explored how this might potentially work in a different world. Like, he had a story called The Patchwork Man, where it was shortly after the first organ transplant. So he envisioned a future where people are harvested for their organs for the most trivial of crimes, because everyone needs organs to stay alive longer, but...
and it just warps society in its wake.
Yeah, it's... known space gets pretty weird before, people start realizing that they're accidentally weeding out everyone who is even remotely rebellious. And to the point where people will willingly walk into the organ harvesting places. Like I said, it gets kind of messed up.
Right, but I feel like that you need to have a name for this subgenre of sci-fi that's actually playing with ideas as opposed to like action movie but in space, Because there's a lot of that action movie in space stuff, which is fine too, but this is more intellectually interesting.
Yes. But we start with we fast forward to X number of years in the distant space future. I'm sorry, into the future. Not the space future. Space future is when there's space.
Yeah, there's no actual going to space in this movie.
Deliberately.
Well, yeah, we'll get to that in a minute.
Well, I mean, people are falling into the sky. There's bound to be some people who went to space.
Okay, that's true.
Against their wills.
That is definitely a thing. Okay. But among the characters that we meet, we see Patema, who's exploring sort of in this deep underground place. Another nice sci-fi thing is when they don't entirely explain the premise straight off. Like, something crazy happens, stuff's going into the sky, and now someone's underground, and they're at, like, this forbidden zone or something, and then there's a guy standing on the ceiling. And you're like, what the hell is that? It doesn't even look like a guy necessarily. He's got, like, what kind of looks like robot eyes or something, because it's, like, his red goggles.
Honestly, I thought for the entire movie that they were, in fact, robots.
Yeah.
But it turns out that, nope, they're just people wearing needlessly creepy masks.
They're the stormtroopers of this setting.
Yeah, okay, but, like, you could at least see that the stormtrooper helmets came off. I genuinely thought these were frickin' robots.
Yeah.
And given that this is a science fiction story, well, you know, that's not outside the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
So, anywho, Patema is doing the basic thing that all science fiction protagonists do in young adult novels, going out into the dystopian wasteland of who knows where and searching for scrap or good stuff to sell or keep or be rebellious or whatever it's supposed to be.
Happens a lot. I'm thinking of Nausicaa's first scene.
I was thinking of Rey from Last Jedi.
I was thinking that too.
Also, there's like I've read this in a bunch of other stories or seen it in a bunch of other stories. And the elder comes in and you're saying, you're not supposed to go beyond the bounds of the village because it's forbidden, even though we won't explain adequately why. And then we'll act like, oh, this is a thing that I totally expected to happen when, like, the Godzilla rears out of the ocean. And you're like, why didn't you mention in your warnings, do not go beyond the village or Godzilla attacks? Seriously, it's like, this should be, like, regularly mentioned. Go outside, Godzilla kills you.
A lot of settings
it's not
don't have good communication protocols.
Jesus.
That's actually going to get kind of weird too when we get to the ending. But we'll
it's something that I really don't like about the ending because it's just...
Presumably is stuff explained by, like, off-screen stuff before the plot started.
Well, here's the thing. If it's off-screen, I'm not going to count it in the movie's favor.
I know. Okay. So anyway, so she falls. And the next we see of her, she is clinging to the chain link fence underneath a huge blue sky. Close enough. Yeah, she's like on the ground.
She's like on this ground thing. She climbed it to the chain link fence, and it's like a big moment. So you know.
Right. So yeah, she's falling upwards, so to speak, into the sky.
Yeah. Okay.
And
he's falling down. Up relative to the stormtrooper guy that somehow got into the vents or whatever. But then we don't ever hear from the stormtrooper guy again. Does he just leave?
Yeah, he must have been like a scout or something. No, we hear later that the leader has been looking for the underground colony. So, like, occasionally they send people into these tunnels and they don't find Jack, I guess. And then they go, maybe they're not over here. And maybe there's a lot of tunnels, you know.
Yeah, though that also raises further questions, which we will get to once we mention the twist of the story. Which, given what we've established as the premise of the story, knowing that there is a twist probably allows you to figure it out.
We warned you!
But anyways, she falls down and somehow survives a fall of roughly 20 miles.
Yes.
And she sees that her bag is floating upwards from this chain link fence that's below her, as well as the sky is below her. But she's freaked out because she's never seen the sky. And then we cut to earlier in the day with AG. Wait, is that AG or is it Aga? Iga? AG, yes.
AG, yeah.
AG lives in a crappy society that seems like almost a parody of Japanese schools.
Yep.
Specifically, to go to school, you leave your... Actually, we don't even see where he lives.
We do not, no. I'm guessing a barracks of some kind, because why would they spend any... money on frivolities.
Do they have parents in this society, or is it just like the mother, the state is your mother, the state is your father?
I would not be surprised considering their philosophy. He never mentions his mom or dad. No, he mentions his dad.
His dad is a big figure in the past.
Yeah, we never mentioned his mom though. Yeah, but she could have died just separately. He could be an orphan.
Yeah, but like I don't know. I wish that we could have gotten a little more. Honestly, my biggest complaint about this film. Okay, well, I have another complaint, but my biggest one is that this world doesn't feel like it's fleshed out enough. It feels like this could have benefited from being like a several-part miniseries.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Because it just feels a little compressed, is all. But anyways, AG has
We were talking about how crappy their society is. Very authoritarian.
So basically, in order to go to school, he steps outside, stares at the ground as he gets on the moving walkway. Yeah. And I'm sorry, but my Chicago bias is speaking here. Anyone who's been to the terminal United Terminal in the Chicago O'Hare International Airport is expecting to hear at one point, the moving walkway is now ending. Please look down.
Yeah.
You've heard like 1,000 times if you've ever flown through that specific circumstance, and I'm realizing that my experience might not be universal. So moving on, but you stare at the ground and stand on the moving walkway to get to wherever it is you need to go.
You don't walk on the walkway. It's really a standway if you think about it.
Yeah, which, why don't you walk?
Because this is terribly repressive society. That's why.
It's terribly repressive, but if you're telling me that the human instinct to walk on the moving walkway so you feel like the $6 million man as you make the noise as you go really fast has been suppressed, you are out of your goddamn mind. That is natural to us as breathing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's weird, and no one looks up, and everyone stares at the ground, which makes me think that, okay, so do everyone's on this one moving walkway, do they all go to the same classroom, or are there, like, different moving walkways if you have to go to different places?
I think we saw at least one, like, going in a perpendicular direction.
And no one talks to each other, which, okay, I'm an introvert. I get that completely. Stare at the ground, make no eye contact, hope no one talks to you. Fine. Dandy. But, it's weird when no one else is doing it either.
Yes.
Like, no one's saying, hey, did you hear that Bob hooked up with Susan last night?
Conrad, Birdie, and all this stuff is going to happen now, but yeah.
Anyways, so they're brought into class and they're taught, like, yeah, our society is the best thing ever's, and long ago, some assholes decided to mess with science and destroyed the world. They floated off into oblivion because they're dicks and they're sinners. By the way, AG, I'm giving you a whole shitload of demerits for looking at the sky.
Yep.
You know a society is bad when you cannot acknowledge the existence of up.
Yeah. This is such efficient storytelling here. You're like, wow, this place sucks.
Yeah, okay. I
also love that they have gigantic windows there, like clearly just to tempt people so they can give them demerits.
Yeah, why do they have
floor to ceiling windows just so they can yell at you?
Like, if this was for air, okay, why don't you just use, I don't know, more lights if you're just gonna black it out the instant someone uses this feature?
Right. Precisely so they can lord it over you. I mean, it's such a dick
How about
move,
you have the whole place in a big-ass dome if you don't want to look up?
Yeah, I know.
Or a pyramid. People have been building pyramids for a long time. They built one underground in Evangelion. How hard can it be? And nerve are idiots.
Doesn't even matter what shape it is. All you're talking about is a thing without windows. Yeah.
Okay, but I'm just saying, pyramids are easy to build.
Yeah.
So, okay. But anyways, it's clear that the whole classroom is being watched by, like, security cameras. So when AG is, like, really getting yelled at by the teacher's like, I'm sorry, your father was really impressive and stuff, and that's why I'm not kicking your ass right now, or something. And
well, his father did impressive science, but was also considered like a heretic, wasn't he?
Yeah, so
I think it was more threatening him on the basis of his father as opposed to ameliorating it. Like, hey, you're on thin ice, pal.
Yeah. Although, honestly, that's another problem I have with this film, is that it sounds like a lot of the reasons for doing things are couched in religious language. In fact, the main bad guy, Ikamura, or Imakura, or Izumura, is dressed like a priest or a pastor or something, but in, like, purple robes. So, can we get, like, evidence of this? Can we hear something from the religion that isn't, we're the religion of evil, and we're here to oppress you?
Do you know how many real-life religions are not too keen on giving evidence and would rather just yell at people for being heretics?
Okay, let me clarify a little further. If this place is a theocracy like it is established, have you ever been to a Catholic school?
No.
There is religious iconography everywhere. Have you ever been to a church? Because there's religious iconography everywhere. And we don't really see a whole lot of religious iconography. No.
There's that one mural on the back of the wall. Remember, it's like the hands reaching down and killing all the sinners. You know?
Yeah, okay, that's one thing, but like, we don't see religious symbolism on the walls. It's all extremely utilitarian.
Yeah, I could buy that. That's just their style. Their authoritarian and utilitarian go pretty well together.
Okay, that's true. I'm just comparing it to religious sculptures and buildings in our world, like cathedrals or mosques. I think
that might go hand in hand with your idea of a miniseries, though, because if I was going to see a bunch of images of like their equivalent of saints and other mystical beings or whatever, then I'd be like, what are those things in detail? And I would like want to know, and the film is like, we don't have time, so we're just gonna give you the core of their philosophy. Here we are, done.
Yeah, but even you say, but they did put in enough religious symbolism to give me the impression that this is a theocracy.
Oh, it is. I know. I'm just saying, you know,
which makes me think that they had enough time to put some of this stuff in, but they didn't go a little further and stuff, and they wouldn't. Like you said earlier, when they're just hinting at the mythology of the series, as opposed to, say, you know, blasting it straight in your face.
Yeah, I would be curious to see how much you could do with a full miniseries or a season of an anime or whatever.
Okay. Yeah, anyways, so this society that for some reason has, like, elaborate religion and stuff, but doesn't have churches or temples or mosques or anything.
That we see.
Yeah, but okay, even the buildings...
Plot takes like a week.
All the buildings we see are like cubes.
They might be their preferred shape because religion. I don't know.
Okay, it just doesn't seem to hold water given like this example and yet this... Okay, we prefer everything to be cubist, except for our paintings which show demons reaching from the sky to grab sinners.
Yep. That one's just too badass to cubize.
I'm just mentally comparing... As I said, I'm just mentally comparing it to huge religious structures and iconography in our world.
Okay.
But anyways, because his dad was apparently a heretic, and that's enough to put AG under suspicion, they say, okay, don't do it. Don't look up again. Because up is bad.
What a
you know, when you reduce it to that, it sounds like Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
Up is bad. And then at the end, up is good.
Sort of.
So AG does what any child does. He decides to go to a military bunker in the middle of nowhere and stares at the sky.
A little bit of rebel in him, which I like.
I'm just saying, you know, there were closer places. Did you have to pick this one that's like 1,000 miles?
I mean, actually, that's the best excuse for him able to do this and somehow not get caught on camera.
Okay, that's fair.
This is mildly
it's fair.
odd that they don't have cameras next to the giant pit in which upside-down people might someday emerge from. And for which there is already a guy investigating that area, apparently. Put a camera on that fence, you idiots.
But anyways, AG spends so long out there that he falls asleep or something, and then he wakes up when he hears stuff going on. And he spots Patema's bag stuck to the barbed wire around the giant pit thing. And he goes and looks at it because, hey, backpacks aren't supposed to go up. And Patema climbs down/up the fence in reverse to get the bag, and they see each other, and and
then we zoom out and we like spin the whole thing. And this is a film I wish I could have seen in theaters. If there's ever a need for a giant screen, it's of this huge perspective flip, and you're like taking it all in, and it's visually impressive for us, but like likewise impressive from the character's perspective, which is a great like tie-in. Like, oh my god, you're upside down compared to me.
Yeah, that's wild. Then they meet, and Patema gets freaked the hell out and drops her backpack into the sky. Roll with it. But she... why doesn't she just climb back?
Because there's, a giant way to go and not room to climb. Remember, it was like smooth surface for a while there. And B, that creepy upside-down guy with the mask may still be down there.
Oh, yeah.
And also, what the heck is all this? I'd like to see what's going on. So, kind of put everything together, and the safest thing we can do right now is just to get you inside a building with a roof and not cling to this fence all day. So he brings her to this little shed they've got somewhere.
I'm impressed with the architecture, though. I mean, not in the sense of, like, their buildings look impressive. As you heard my complaints earlier, read the religious discussion, I do not admire their architecture. It's boring as hell. But, like, the way this building is constructed, because you're basically dropping a fully grown person up onto the ceiling, and none of, like, the ceiling plates are coming off and falling into the sky. Or breaking and letting go through.
I wonder what the upward resistance force of a ceiling is. Though, granted, in a 2-story building, it obviously takes the downward force of someone standing up there.
Okay, yeah, but that's because... But that's, they're designed to hold the weight of the building up.
Yeah.
But it's a pushing force up through there.
Yeah.
So, be like,
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder how many materials and constructive situations would surprise you, and which ones, like, would actually hold, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, this one seems to be made of, like, metal and concrete, so it's not entirely ridiculous that it would just be strong enough to do things that it wasn't designed for.
So, anyways, Patema is like, well, to quote a certain Tim Burton character, What's this? What's this? There's magic everywhere.
We gotta watch that again someday.
Yeah, it's a good movie. Okay, honestly, actually, it's kind of okay, but the songs are great.
It's like, it's great for its design and songs, and the plot might not entirely make sense. I forget.
No. The plot makes sense. It just wasn't the best.
Okay,
I don't know.
Whatever.
Well, personally, I just love the songs from there. But anyways.
Yeah.
She's like, what's this? What's this? And then she quickly realizes the reality of, oh, by the way, you have to stay in here frickin' forever now until we can figure out a way to get you back. Right. Because, yeah, I can't tell anyone about you because your people are known as the ultimate evil in my world.
Yeah. He introduces her to the stars, which she's never seen before. So she looks down/up to be like, oh, crap, that's amazing.
Yeah, stars. Or does he introduce them to the stars? Anywho.
This is why you have to, like, see the film either by yourself or with someone who can keep quiet the whole time.
Yeah, he did.
And, like, pointedly not answer certain questions when they come up. Like, who knows? I'm not saying anything. What are you talking about?
Anywho, he spends the day at school and he's like, yeah, whatever, school, yay, or whatever. And then he comes back at the end of the day, which makes me just wonder, there's no bathroom in that hut. At least none that's designed for upside-down people.
Uh-huh. Yeah, we're going to ignore bits of biology there.
Yeah, and they decide to learn how to fly. I'm skipping a lot of stuff, if you haven't realized, because certain parts are less memorable.
It's all right. You're getting the main things. Yeah, so if she grabs onto his arms while he holds her, they can run around. They don't do that for fun at first, though. Actually, it's the cops find them, essentially, like the soldier guys. Right?
Yeah.
He's like, okay, so we need to go. And as they're running, her weight pulling him up is enough to make him lighter. So he's essentially like running in moon gravity, which is so cool. Also, it would be hard to keep a grip in this scenario.
Yeah, I'd want a belt, a couple belts.
You'd want, a bunch of whatever. It's such a great symbolism of trust in all this.
Mm-hmm.
So they run around for a while.
They jump over this field of satellite antennas, which, once you learn the twist of the movie, makes you wonder, why are these here?
I don't think the leadership actually knows what's going on. I think they actually put up some fucking satellite antennas to, like, measure the stars and shit.
But given the twist, wouldn't they realize the truth in, like, 30 seconds after you turned one off? Actually, why is there an array of satellite dishes? Wouldn't you just need, like, a powerful enough regular telescope? I'm just not sure why this exists when we can get to the... Okay, can you write down, like, discuss satellite dishes once this is...
Yeah. Okay. But they do get captured, unfortunately.
Yeah, because they just have net guns. And one of my favorite visual gags from any medium is whenever someone is running in one direction and then they just hit by something and knocked off screen in like a completely different direction. It's always funny to me, even when it really shouldn't be. Yeah, so apparently Patema is being kept on the ceiling of Izumura's dining room.
Yeah. Izumura is the leader, by the way, and he is a delightful version of just, like, acts crazy. Not acts so much as, like, religious crazy, but wants to purge those sinners and everything.
Yeah, he's also got the douche smile on the entire time.
Yes.
No, and if you see him on screen for more than 3 seconds and do not want to punch him in the face, you might be a sociopath.
Possible.
So yeah, he's, instead of like having some sort of secure cell and locking her in there, he keeps her on the roof of his dining room, which again does not answer the question of where she has to go to the bathroom. But
anyway,
Patema is taken to his classroom where like security people beat him up and stuff, and say, "We will."
AG is taken to his old classroom.
AG, yes, AG is taken to his old classroom. Which again, if this is a repressive society, you'd think they'd have... Okay, I can understand not having a containment area for the person who inverts the laws of gravity. I'm not so sure why they don't have one of those for, say, someone who obeys the normal laws of physics.
Actually, even a regular prison would hold an inverted human. They keep Patema on that ceiling because it scares her. You know, like, Izumura is deliberately being a dick about it, because it's a glass ceiling. So
okay,
like,
no, we're not at the glass ceiling
right,
part. We're at the dining room.
Yeah, anyway.
But, like, AG, they take him to his classroom. What, did you have the set and couldn't afford to use a different one? Which, okay,
yeah, it's a little weird.
Yeah, you know, you'd figure there'd be, like, a cell with concrete and bars, and you're a repressive government. Get with the picture, man.
Mm.
But yeah, they beat him up and they say, we're going, you should forget about Patema because, you know, she's gonna be gone now, and if you don't want to be branded a heretic for the rest of your days, like, all of your deep experiences, which is why I keep harping on the fact that this should have been better as a miniseries, because he's known her for like 3 hours now. I'm not saying that it's not sweet and adorable and stuff, but you've known her for 3 hours.
Yes. I can only say
okay, yes,
the rest of the world sucks, so I'm glad he's found somebody.
Okay, that's fair enough. I'm just like...
Yeah, I get it.
It just feels like it moved kind of quickly.
Yeah, I can understand that. But he goes off walking to that same place, actually.
Despite the fact that they told him, you're accused of breaking into a military bunker. Mm-hmm. They point out the bunker that he's been staying in. They've gone there and captured him before. So why are you going back there?
I don't think he just gives a damn at this point. Like,
okay.
What am I doing, you know?
Yeah, that's fair.
So he goes there, and what's more surprising is that there aren't... I guess they never knew the point of entry. Okay, fine. Anyway, so yeah, he goes back to the same point of entry, and Porta is there. He's one of Patema's friends from her underground world. Mm-hmm. And he's been worried about her disappearance. So he comes out and he finds AG, and it's like, okay, look, we have to work together to save Patema now. Even though, who are you, guy who's known Patema for 3 hours, but fine. So he takes him down/up to the underground world, and they discuss with all the people there what they may be able to do, and they got like some blueprints for the tower that Patema's in.
Which is another hint.
Yes.
And meanwhile, Patema is being confronted by the religious douchebag Izumura, and TV Trope said that the original version, he openly wanted her as a sex slave or something.
Oh, jeez. I didn't check that.
Or like, I don't know, convince... fuck it, that wasn't present in the English dub.
Yeah.
That's different, but no, I thought he was just insane and was trying to convince her to help destroy her people. Which... You know, that's still pretty bad, but he does some torture of her by holding her upside down and reveals, hey, remember that guy that Sith King and Sonic Sons haven't mentioned up until this point because, you know, he was such a minor character earlier? He went up to the surface and he revealed that, oh no, underground people were real and we killed him and we've kept his body in this tank.
Yeah, that guy's name is Lagos, by the way. It was Patema's, like, she looked up to him a lot. It wasn't her dad, but it seemed like a father figure in a way.
Yeah. So, yeah, Lagos was dead the whole time. Ooh, and we kept his body in this tank where it's been floating.
Yeah, it was appropriately creepy.
Yeah, it was appropriately creepy, but, like, you just had this here in your dining room.
Yes.
You didn't... I don't know, I would have put this somewhere not where humans are eating food. Was this just something you brought out at parties?
Yes.
Like, hey guys, check this out. It's floating. Isn't that freaky and weird? We should kill these things.
Yes, I think that's what he did. I think that's one of the episodes in your miniseries, is him just hosting this thing and being like, I have something to show you all, and he like pulls back the curtain and all this.
I have something to show you. Yes, we've seen how you're able to remove your thumb. I'm doing the thumb removal trick.
Yeah.
Okay, so and he holds Patema out the window and says, "You're gonna tell me how to get down there, or else." She's still like, "No," and he's like, "Okay, then we'll put you in the really nice glass ceiling."
Yeah.
Because that's scary and stuff.
I mean, it is. There's one ceiling I'd be worried about not taking my weight.
Okay, that is fair. That is true.
So in the meantime, we launch our rescue attempt with AG and Porta, and really just the two of them, as I recall.
Yeah, it was just the two of them, despite everyone being like, "We need to save Patema." It's just two guys, both of whom haven't finished puberty yet.
I mean, they had an advantage with that whole reverse gravity thing going with just the two that wouldn't have worked if there were three people holding on.
Okay, that's true.
Which they did a neat thing where they had to like hide from security cameras by like sticking to the ceiling at one point and just crawl along all super awkward and stuff. So that was funny. Finally, we get on up there. What happened to Porta? He like had to stay behind or something.
Yeah, he like went into some ductwork and like, "I'll back you up," and then he didn't back them up, and managed to see the whole thing because like AG managed to get Patema out onto the roof of the glass ceiling while holding on to her, and then the priest guy shows up with his goons and he has a gun.
Yep, he has an actual gun. So Patema ends up like charging that guy just as he's about to shoot AG, right? And then that like releases her. What was it? She was like being held by somebody else. This is what happens when we review the thing on a different day from when we watched it.
Yeah, but like she had some weights or something.
Right. Anyway, point is she's suddenly untethered and AG grabs onto her, but she's got a weight that's like balances that out, so actually now grabbing onto her means he goes up rather than she stays down. So they go straight up into the sky at like terminal velocity, which is great and not technically how physics works.
Yeah, that's...
If you have a countervailing force pointing the other way that's like almost as heavy as you are, you should move fairly slowly upwards, yeah?
Yeah, which means that the bad guy should have just been like, "Oh well, bang, bang."
But I'll still take it because it's such a great idea. Like, you don't expect them to do that, right? Yeah. All the danger is like, we must not fall into the sky. And then the two main characters fall into the goddamn sky, and the plot keeps happening, and you're like, where are they going to go from here?
So, yeah, they keep falling up. I was legitimately expecting them to pull some sneaky move where they would just fall back down to ground and then, like, crush the bad guy and kick him off the building.
Yeah. Yeah, if they got rid of the weight or something.
Yeah, but that was what I thought was going to happen. But no, they just keep going up.
They go up, like, multiple miles considering the size of these clouds and everything.
Yeah.
Like, considering the existence of clouds to begin with.
Yeah, and then as they go further up, they look up and see the Borg! No.
It looks like the stars as this long shot. And then, like, you told me later, you're like, you start noticing the stars are oddly regular, aren't they? And then you're like, are they just going to Coruscant? Like, what's happening here?
It's not far off.
Yeah.
Actually, it is far off, but it turns out that the sky is fake. The whole... Okay, this is part of the twist. The sky itself is fake. And it's got, like, English letters on it and stuff.
It's like an artificially constructed... giant metal-y thing with lights everywhere.
I thought this was an airship flying over their civilization.
Which would be another very cool way to take the story, I guess.
But no, this is just the ceiling of the world.
Yep. So we gotta back up a little because the reason why AG's dad was a heretic is he had invented what sure looks like an anti-gravity machine, is that he's floating up into the sky. And you're sort of meant to assume that maybe he was involved with the original project that, like, effed up the world, right? But all we see is him hovering up, like, 20 yards, and then he, for some reason, falls out and dies on impact, apparently.
Yeah, this one also doesn't really make a whole lot of sense once we get into what actually happened.
It will. Okay, we'll get there in a second. So, the point is, having had a lot of history, they find Patema's backpack from forever ago. Oh, cool.
The batteries still work.
The battery still has a good flashlight.
It dies as they find it, but, like, seriously, when I first saw this thing, I thought, oh, there's a car. Someone's driving over.
Yeah, no.
Or there's a robot or something. But no, it's just their flashlight. I love how, not only have they conveniently landed on the surface of something and aren't falling up into the exosphere, but they managed to land within the cone of light and within walking distance of the flashlight.
Yeah. That's really hard to do, folks. Also, I'm trying to remember how they survived the fall.
I think they, like, dropped some weights. So
they did something like that. It's, again, kind of hand-wavy. Okay, but then they also find that anti-gravity craft, along with the father's notebook. And so we got some of the backstory, and he was actually, like,
Again, super convenient that they land in walking distance of the device, and all of the paper pages are perfectly preserved after, like, what, 10, 15 years of exposure to the elements?
How many elements are there when there's, like...
Sun.
Yeah, it's true. The artificial sun would totally burn that thing.
Yeah!
Okay, yeah, so it's perfectly preserved. His dad knew Lagos, it turned out.
And it turns out that Lagos provided him with, like, the anti-gravity materials, which it turns out is just materials from the upside-down people.
It's just weights. That's all you need, yeah. Upside-down weights. So, that's all cool. And then it's, like, the next morning, and it's really hot up here for some reason. You were like, why is it so hot all of a sudden? I'm like, wouldn't you like to know? But they end up reversing the craft by just, like, ditching the weights, right? And flying back down again, and the bad guys see them falling back down again.
But everyone else sees them because coincidentally, one person happened to do the one thing that it's been established you should never ever do, and looked up at exactly the right moment. Plot convenience fairy, we missed you!
Granted, it's hard not to look at the damn sky. It's everywhere.
Okay, but if it's a religious commandment and everyone except for AG has been following it well for, like, the last God knows how many decades.
Yeah.
This one instance.
Yeah.
The bad government people are like, yeah, go get him! And except that, AG and Patema escape into the underground.
With bad guys hot on their trail, right?
Yeah, which I don't think they had a plan for. Quick, go to the people who don't have weapons when the guys chasing us do.
Best we could come up with. It was this or hang out in the artificial sun.
If that worked, that would be pretty cool, actually.
Yeah. Okay, so they end up going to the, from the perspective of the religious fanatics, bottom of the mine shaft thing. And there's this whole confrontation where it ends up with, like, Porta's there, and he gets, like, injured and sent up the other way, because that's the way he falls.
But he's fine.
People can take very long falls in this world.
Yeah.
It's a standard anime thing, I think. A movie in general, almost. Okay, but so we end up having this confrontation where Izamura's got a gun, and
Iza's got a gun. That's all I know from that song.
He's got a gun. And the whole the floor below them is, like, shattering.
It's like
occasionally,
cracking.
like, pieces of it are falling up.
One thing that I loved is that Patema and the AG are like, we trust each other. That's why we're capable of standing like this. That's why we'll succeed and you won't. Nizamura just stares at them for a second and then just shoots shoots AG. Just like, okay, thank you for some realism here.
Of course, it's one of those, leg wounds that's totally not a risk of killing you, really. You know, just put a bandage on it, you're fine. But still, that was a good moment, right?
It was a good moment.
Yeah.
I loved it. And then the floor finishes cracking, and below it is brilliant light. To which I think I said, "Why did you build this over a volcano?" Which there actually would be several benefits, you know.
Yeah,
like
geothermal power. Yeah.
But then it turns out that light is the real sun, and it turns out that the upside down people were the right side up the whole time, and it was Eiji and the Eigons who were the upside down people. And it's revealed that the village elder knew the whole fucking time that this was the case. He said, "Oh yes, our people, our tribe, were the descendants of the scientists who took pity on the people who fell up and built an underground, I don't know, geofront type thing for them to live in. And we, as penance, we live down below." And meanwhile, we look up and we see there's a ring of debris around the moon. Which, by the way, how does that work if they repel gravity?
It's a good freaking question. Is it just Earth gravity they have a problem with?
Okay, so it turns out that, you know, Eiji is upside down now. And he and Patema have feelings for each other. Now we get to the problems I have with the twist. Okay. The satellite dishes. If the whole thing was a geofront, why did they need satellite dishes on the upside down surface instead of going, okay, I don't know, let's run some coax up the side?
I question whether the leadership even knows they're in a geofront.
By the way, the bad guy falls up into the sky forever.
Oh yeah,
so, you know.
And he died. Yeah, which is, you know, just perfect symbolism. The guy whose only trait is being a horrible bigot against these people turns out to be one of the people he is a horrible bigot against, and gets exactly the shit that he's been preaching for them this whole time. Symbolism,
which is good. I like that. Okay. But you know, okay, my problem is with the chief of Patema's tribe. What do you mean as penance? Did the scientists seal themselves down there and just not try to fix their goddamn divot? Because this is not okay. My problem is that this is not set in the Fallout universe. This was not set up by Vault-Tec. So there is no real reason why the scientists should be like, "Oh, we forgot our true purpose down here," because they weren't having horrible experiments done on them.
Yeah.
No, they should have remembered, and there should have been scientists going like, "Okay, well, let's see. Is this capable of fixing the shit that this hell that we put all of these people in the bubble below us through?" No.
I could excuse kind of the idea of them being very reluctant not to mess with the thing that's already killed thousands of people.
Well, let's go with billions.
Billion? I don't know. I don't think they blew up the world.
If there's a visible debris ring around the moon, let's assume that it was billions.
Okay. Well, obviously they didn't reverse the entire Earth, or the Earth wouldn't be here. Yeah. Okay. If it was billions, then like civilization is mostly collapsed. In which case, yes, you wouldn't want to turn that thing on again, even if you do think you've invented safety settings, right? Even if you, oh no, we're doing it for a good purpose. No, don't you dare, man. Like, the trickier bit is, since they're right side up and have access to the true surface, you think they would do some farming up there, or like other useful activities,
or you know, anything other than squatting in a hole. Look, I don't get. They said as penance we did this. But what's the point of sitting in a hole if you don't remember? If you're just being self-flagellating idiots. Don't run away when you screwed up. Fix your goddamn divot.
Which I will grant you, in a we're not going to turn on the machine again scenario, which I do support because you might kill everyone this time. The building of a ridiculously large geofront is apparently quite a lot of... Like, that's weird. The society we see underground does not appear to have the necessary things to burrow out several miles of divots, essentially, to make a giant... And to build an artificial sun, goddammit, and to put in artificial stars so people, like, don't miss looking at the stars. That place is luxurious.
Yeah, it's nice. But why didn't you build one of those for yourself? Dig a few miles down deeper and then build your own thing on top of it. Here's a thought, live on the surface. Yeah, there's a problem with, there's tornadoes up there, possibly, but guess what? It's a lot better than living in a hole.
All right, the penance bit is weird too because apparently it would apply to the children born of the scientists who like had nothing to do with this, right?
Yeah.
My best guess, and this could be a thing. So this actually go either way because I was gonna say this is maybe one of the problems of making it a miniseries is you have to answer all these questions, but then maybe you would have answers, and maybe the rest of the world or the local authority at least is super pissed off at these scientist folks and is willing to shoot them on sight. Because, you know, a billion people die if you turn that thing on.
Okay, yeah.
In which case they have to live underground because folks are looking for them up at the surface.
Mm-hmm.
So that would
explain it. It's just, I don't know. I'm of the opinion... I see this in fiction where people go, oh, I've screwed up. I need to exile myself. And they're not doing anything useful in exile. They're just being like, oh, I screwed up. Allow me to self-flagellate again. Instead of, I don't know, trying to fix the problem.
Now, there is...
It comes across as selfish and
I don't think
not
selfish
helpful.
It's definitely not helpful. Selfish isn't exactly the word for it, but it's self-destructive and doesn't fix the problem. So yeah, a bad idea. I will say they did not specify, as I recall the phrasing, like they find the true surface, and what the Elder says is, you know, long ago,
in a distant land,
yeah.
I, Aku, the shape-shifting master of darkness, unleashed an unspeakable evil.
Then everything changed and the Fire Nation attacked.
Damn it! I was...
Were you gonna do that?
No, I was going to do the full Samurai Jack intro. No. Let's keep going. Keep going.
I mean, once you've said Aku, like, we know you're doing the reference. Hard to hide it at that point. But he says, you know, that the scientist responsible for this thing went underground as penance. He doesn't directly say he knew this whole time that he himself was a descendant of these scientists. If it's been a few hundred years, like, things might have gotten lost in translation and shit. You know, like, he's heard the story in general, but didn't know necessarily who was who. You know? But yeah, that would depend on them being stuck there for a long enough time, which, again, assumes there are people with guns on the surface who will just totally kill us if we ever show our faces. Which they might be, realistically.
Okay, that was the plot of the first Homeworld game, you know. The Higarans were horrible warmongering bastards, and so the rest of the galaxy banded together and said, no, you're exiled to this planet now. And there was so much warfare over like 1,000 years that the Higarans forgot their true nature. And when they finally found a starship buried under the sands, they're like, oh, cool, let's go out into space. And when they built their first hyperspace-capable ship, they went out to the edge of the system, unknowingly violating the terms of their prison sentence. And so the Titani Imperium then used planet-busting missiles on their homeworld. And that's why you're leaving for a new homeworld, because all that's left of your civilization is in there because of a terms and clause that was forgotten to the mists of time. But that was thousands of years.
Yeah. And I don't know, like, we don't actually see hydroponic farming. We see at one point people like, oh, look, we found, like, boxes of rations somewhere. So is there, like, infinity rations just stored underground that they themselves have lost track of and are now rediscovering for some reason?
Which I really don't like when that happens. It's humanity. It's regressive and annoying.
Yeah, but
also, how did they get these flying people? Did they just like canvass the wastelands and find all the people who were upside down?
Wait, what do you mean these flying? Which these flying people?
Okay, they have the underground Geofront.
Yeah.
And the scientists built the Geofront for all the people who were...
Oh, how do they collect them into the Geofront? Yeah, they probably went into every building and went, hey, you're on the ceiling. I think you maybe have inverted gravity. Come with us, please. Like, what else are you going to do? Stay on the ceiling forever? Good luck.
Just, I don't know, it seems like an odd set of priorities is all.
What else would you do, though?
I don't know. Bring everyone together into a massive think tank to try to figure out a solution to the problem.
Oh, right. Again, apparently highly dangerous. But yeah, again, like, all these absurdities I'm willing to take because we had to have it look ridiculous. We had to have it look like Patema was living underground. She had to have no access to the surface. So that way she can find the false surface and be, like, amazed by it. And not be like, oh, this is just like that other one I saw last week, you know? And then, like, immediately figure out the twist. Again, the underground world being absurdly luxurious makes no sense. but it has to be that way so we can have that freaking Coruscant moment and all these other things, right? So, again, this is one of those things where I'm willing to take a bunch of stuff because you are doing something meaningful with your ridiculousness. It's not just like you were lazy and couldn't think of something.
Okay, that is true. Yeah. And I do commend this movie for it.
Yeah.
It's very good. And I do recommend you watch it.
Now that you've gotten spoiled, hopefully you watched it first.
Okay, but even without that, the voice acting is good, the art is beautiful,
the
scenes
music
are
is good,
breathtaking.
Yeah, if it ever comes around to one of those Fathom events, I'm going to see it in theaters, just because of that cool theater thing I mentioned earlier.
Yay.
But I guess that's about it.
Yeah, we didn't really have much else to say about it.
Oh. Okay then.
Oh, I guess I'm Sith King.
I'm Song Sons.
Signing off.